So debate question 4, and that is going to be for Justin when I finish it here. Background information, the downtown parking conceptual master plan, which if you go to the website on question 4, you can go to that link and see that, is proposing the removal of one or two traffic lanes on Hermosa Avenue in the downtown area to make room for wider sidewalks. The removal of traffic lanes on Hermosa Avenue will allow for 20-foot wide sidewalks, and outdoor dining with the wider sidewalks is also proposed for new and existing restaurants. Reductions in parking requirements are also proposed as incentives to build new multi-story commercial buildings. Okay, the proposed Downtown Core Revitalization Strategy allows for outdoor dining, seating, and would allow for reduced parking requirements to be granted to convert existing non-restaurant uses in order to create new restaurant uses, such as adding new outdoor dining establishments on Hermosa Avenue. Here's debate question 4. Do you support the removal or reduction of any traffic lanes on Hermosa Avenue? When Hermosa Avenue is upgraded with 20-foot wide sidewalks, could a future city council vote to convert non-restaurant uses on Hermosa Avenue into the same types of restaurants and bars with outdoor dining as currently is the case on Pier Plaza? When the Downtown Core Revitalization Strategy is fully implemented, would there be any way to prevent a future city council from voting to create a second version of Pier Plaza on the upgraded Hermosa Avenue in the downtown area? And that would be for Justin.
Thanks, Al. I support the proposal in the Downtown Core Revitalization Strategy, which includes wider sidewalks, but 4 lanes on Hermosa Avenue at peak times, and 3 lanes and a bike lane at non-peak times. I would only support 2 lanes on Hermosa Avenue if city staff concluded that residents' mobility will be maintained and that making that change will make Hermosa Avenue more family and pedestrian friendly. Hermosa Avenue has to work for residents. It shouldn't be just a pass-through for people to get to Redondo and Manhattan Beach, but it is an important corridor for residents as well as visitors, so we need to make sure that any changes we make sense. Our city council needs to do more than what they're doing. Of the current city council members, only Hanny Fangary joined myself and a group of people to go out to Lancaster to look at what they've done. And what we saw out there was the rehabilitation of Lancaster Boulevard into a street that was once blighted and is now alive and works not only as a transit corridor, but as an outdoor event space and has ample parking. There are ideas out there. If you go looking for them, we need city council people who are curious enough to go out and find them to come up with the best solution for our city. In answer to the question about what might happen if we make changes to Hermosa Avenue with respect to the kind of establishments that will get into business on Hermosa Avenue, with a liquor license moratorium in place, Pier Plaza will not be duplicated. So I don't see the risk there given what we have currently in place. But it ultimately comes down to the city council that we elect.
Thanks, Justin. Ken?
I would not support the removal of the lanes down on Hermosa Avenue. I think that would, once that constricts the flow through there, it's going to push the vehicle traffic up onto other residential streets in Hermosa, making many others unhappy with that increased flow coming down their street. The city currently has a limit on alcohol serving establishments, so I don't see that as an issue. However, beer and wine is by right, so once you add these restaurants in, you may have a beer and wine by right, and a lot of our residents are very concerned about having additional alcohol serving places. There's a lot of concern with Upper Pier Avenue with having outside dining, so some of these shops recessed their buildings and have their outside dining on their own property. I think that still works pretty good, but I think neighbors still have a little bit of an issue with some of the late night noise, but not so bad. But if we start to add that onto Hermosa Avenue, that's opening up a whole new item, and I'm not quite sure how residents in that area would care for that. As to how to prevent that from happening by City Council, Hermosa Beach has an active community. They're going to come down to City Hall and say, this cannot happen, and the City Council would not let it happen.
Okay, Ken, thanks. Jeff?
Well, I agree somewhat with what Ken is saying. I think the threat of businesses morphing into further imbalance in commerce with the scales tipping toward more alcohol-serving establishments in downtown is a real threat if these changes were to be implemented. And I believe relaxing parking requirements is a key to it all and will be the first element put in place and will most likely happen before the November election. And here's why I'm reluctant to support these changes. We're about to commit a vast amount of city's time and money increasing the economic value of a very small portion of the city's commercial property, not for the ultimate benefit of the business tenant, but for the largely absentee landlords who care little about community goals and directions, but in maximizing their return on investment. Square foot cost imposed on businesses could dramatically go up with these changes based on our investment driving small businesses from the street. And I'm very concerned about that, and I do believe it's a real threat.
Thanks, Jeff. Trent?
Yes, I have serious reservations about taking the lanes down to 1 lane along Hermosa Avenue. I believe that it needs to maintain 2 lanes each way because we don't want to choke off traffic coming in and out and through and from our city, especially if we're going to revitalize the Pier area and Upper Pier with businesses for the 21st century. We're planning on having a lot of traffic go down in there, albeit pedestrian, albeit on a bicycle, but a lot of it will still be on a vehicle. And if we choke it off down to 1 lane, there's going to be backups like we haven't seen here in a long, long time. And I think it's going to frustrate people. It will also push traffic up onto the other streets that are not meant to be thoroughfares. And all of a sudden, there'll be 3 and 4 times the traffic going through there because people traveling through our city are not going to change their mind because we've reduced it down to 1 lane. They're just going to go to another road. So it's also, the businesses need to have access. They need to have portability. And vehicle traffic is the way that we get around for the most part, although bikes are coming. So I wouldn't be in favor of it.
Thanks, Trent. Pete?
Thank you. Upper Pier Avenue was an award-winning project. The city set new design standards which ban outdoor dining on the public way. This is what the residents requested at the hearings. It's worked out very well. Since Upper Pier has been completed, we've seen our sales tax revenue go up by almost 10% with that improvement. All the stores along there have improved. They're a storefront, and it is an area that everyone, I believe, in this city is very proud of. Hermosa Avenue is another street that needs to be renovated, as Pier Avenue was. We need to get input from the community as to what we want to see there. Do we want outdoor dining? Do we need 20-foot sidewalks? The sidewalks on Upper Pier are only 13 feet. That seems to work well. Do we need to reduce down to 1 lane? That will be a traffic study. We did that with Upper Pier. We painted 1 lane, and we did 2 to see what people really liked, and we came up with the design we have today. But in reality, we do not need another Pier Plaza on Hermosa Avenue. We've learned our lesson. We need a mixed usage of more retail versus restaurants. We need a better mix in the downtown area. This idea that we want to bring in more restaurants is an idea from Roma. Roma doesn't live here. He's a consultant. And I don't know where he came up with that idea, but we don't need probably more restaurants. We need a heavier business presence on Hermosa Avenue to get people to come down.
Summarize.
But in closing, I feel that the revival of Upper Pier sets a standard as to how we would approach remodeling and renovating Hermosa Avenue. And I feel that the residents will have that input, and we do not need more bars in the downtown area. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Pete.